Looking back, it feels like life's most unexpected storms creep in when you're least prepared. The path that brought me to that balcony with coffee and cigarette in hand began long before February's suffocating gloom. I grew up in a quiet suburban neighborhood where seasons came and went with predictable regularity. Summers meant bike rides and lemonade stands, while winters brought snowball fights and cozy nights by the fire. My parents worked tirelessly to give us a good life, though they rarely saw eye to eye. Arguments were common, but divorce was never on the table. At least, not in those days. I swore I'd never repeat their mistakes. In my early 20s, I met Linda at a friend's wedding. She wore a bright red dress that matched her fiery spirit. We clicked instantly. Our whirlwind romance felt like something out of a movie. Spontaneous road trips, late-night conversations, and promises whispered under starlit skies. She was everything I thought I wanted, vibrant, creative, and fiercely independent. Our marriage, though, wasn't as seamless as our courtship. Financial struggles, job changes, and 2 kids tested us in ways I never anticipated. But we faced those challenges together. Emma and Timmy brought joy and chaos in equal measure, and despite the sleepless nights, they anchored our little family. Linda's talent for creating beautiful things, from handcrafted dresses to heartfelt birthday cards, filled our home with warmth. I often marveled at her ability to make the mundane feel extraordinary. Then came the cracks, small at first, but impossible to ignore. We stopped laughing as much, our conversations became transactional, and silences filled the spaces where connection used to thrive. I tried to bridge the gap, planning date nights and offering to shoulder more of the parenting load, but Linda seemed distant. I couldn't figure out why, or maybe I was afraid to confront the truth. One evening, after the kids were asleep, I found Linda scrolling through her phone, a wistful look on her face. "What's on your mind?" I asked. She shrugged, avoiding my gaze. "Nothing important," she replied. But the way she said it felt like a door closing. I told myself it was just a phase, that we'd find our way back to each other. By the time February arrived, the distance between us had become palpable. The month had always been a challenge, short days, icy winds, and the monotony of winter's grip. But this year, it felt heavier. The kids, as always, were my solace. Their laughter echoed through the halls, a reminder of what truly mattered. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing, that my efforts to hold us together might not be enough. As I sat on that balcony, the weight of it all pressed down on me. The cigarette's embers glowed faintly against the cold gray backdrop, a small rebellion against the chill. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to wonder if our story, mine and Linda's, was nearing its final chapter. February has a way of being unbearable, doesn't it? Calling it rough feels like a kindness. Unless you're lucky enough to live in a place where the sun shines year-round, it's a gray, cold slog that drags on endlessly. And this year, this February felt like it was competing for the title of worst ever. I mulled over these thoughts as I sat on my apartment balcony, nursing a cup of coffee in one hand and a cigarette in the other. Smoking was a habit I'd kicked years ago when money was tight. But now, money wasn't as much of an issue, and frankly, I'd stopped caring. I made sure never to smoke around the kids, though. I wasn't about to let them pick up my bad habits or deal with secondhand smoke. With them spending the weekend at their grandparents', I finally had time to sit, think, and indulge. This February had started with 2 relentless weeks of overcast skies, freezing temperatures, and snow piling up by the foot. Valentine's Day became my light at the end of the tunnel, a rare chance to break the monotony. It landed on a Thursday that year, and Friday turned into an unofficial holiday as the city ground to a halt under yet another snowstorm. Linda and I had grand plans for that Thursday night, a romantic dinner, a movie, and maybe even dancing. Instead, we woke up to icy roads and snow so heavy it forced us to cancel. By evening, our big date night had turned into a frozen pizza dinner at home with the kids. Emma, 6, and Timmy, 4, were the only ones doing any dancing that night, bouncing around their rooms, thrilled at the prospect of no school the next day. "No bedtime!" they chanted gleefully, until Linda and I finally corralled them. Once they were tucked in, I poured Linda a glass of wine and joined her on the couch. "I'm sorry," I said, feeling defeated. "This isn't what I had planned for tonight." She gave me a soft smile. "It's okay, Jim. You can't control the weather. Besides, I had fun just looking forward to it. And I got a new dress out of it." "One I still haven't seen," I pointed out, raising an eyebrow. "You'll see it when you actually take me out," she teased, her tone playful. As I imagined her in that dress, I couldn't help but admire her. Linda had a natural elegance that turned heads wherever she went. She'd been sewing her own clothes since she was a teenager and often made outfits for Emma. Even in a room full of glamorous women, she somehow stood out, effortlessly stunning. I glanced at the diamond ring I'd placed on her finger almost a decade ago and smiled. "Thanks for saying yes, Linda. I love you. Here's to us." "To us?" she replied, her smile warm as she clinked her glass against mine. After a pause, I broke the silence. "I know I've been a grouch lately. You and the kids deserve better. It's just, this miserable February gets to me." She nodded knowingly. I felt it too. Even the kids and my coworkers have been on edge. Winter has a way of bringing everyone down. Hibernating till spring sounds like the perfect solution. She was right, of course. Despite the gloomy weather and frustrations, we had so much to be grateful for. Our kids, our home, and the love that held us together. How do people survive hard times like this without love? I asked aloud. Sometimes they don't, she said softly, her expression distant. She once told me about a high school boyfriend who had taken his life on Valentine's Day, a memory that still haunted her. Determined to lighten the mood, I reached for her hands. "Happy Valentine's Day. My favorite wife." "Happy Valentine's Day, my beloved husband," she replied, her smile returning. That snowy weekend became an unexpected blessing. With nearly 2 feet of snow on the ground and the city at a standstill, we were forced to slow down and enjoy uninterrupted family time. The kids built snow forts, inhaled pizza, and wore themselves out so thoroughly that bedtime was a breeze. Linda and I soaked up the rare, quiet moments together, reminded that even February couldn't extinguish the warmth of love and family. The only downside was Emma and Timmy's obsession with Frozen. They insisted on watching it on repeat, belting out the songs with so much enthusiasm that I started humming them in my sleep. Linda refused to show me the dress she'd bought for Valentine's Day, holding firm to her teasing. "Taking me somewhere means out, not staying in," she said with a smirk when I begged for a preview. "What if I promised to take it off for you?" I joked, grinning. "Nice try, Jim, but no," she replied, laughing. By Sunday evening, reality crept back in as snowplows cleared the streets. The work week loomed, and we reluctantly began preparing for the grind ahead. Before bedtime, Emma and Timmy came to us, fresh from their baths and wrapped in cozy pajamas. Emma, always the spokesperson, stood tall and announced, "Mommy, Daddy, this was the best weekend ever. Thank you for playing with us. We love you." They climbed into our laps for hugs, switching parents midway for a second round. Linda and I exchanged a glance, our eyes misty. "We love you too," I whispered. "You make us so happy." That night, as Linda and I lay in bed, the warmth of the weekend lingered, carrying over into the next morning. Even as February dragged on, its bite felt a little less sharp with moments like those to hold on to. Later, as we collapsed on the couch after bedtime, Linda's phone rang. "It's Dee," she said, answering quickly. I watched her face light up as she talked. When she hung up, she dropped into my lap, grinning. "So what's the news?" I asked. "Dee has a plan to make this awful February bearable," Linda said. "It's leap year, so we have an extra day of misery, a Friday. She suggested a night out with the group, dinner, dancing, and a hotel stay to finish the month on a high note." I liked the idea, but raised a practical concern. "What about getting from the club to the hotel? Won't we need to drive?" "That's the best part," Linda said. "There's a club next door to the Madison downtown where we'll be staying. If we dine at the hotel, there's no cover charge for the club, and Mrs. Porter already agreed to watch the kids." Feigning indecision, I teased her until she smacked me with a couch cushion. Laughing, I relented. "Okay, let's do it, but on one condition. You wear the Valentine's dress I haven't seen yet." "As you wish, my lord," she replied, smiling. The dress was breathtaking, a shade of blue that made her eyes glow. Modest but flirtatious, it rippled when she walked and hinted at her form beneath. When Linda descended the stairs wearing it, I was stunned. She placed a finger on my lips and said softly, "It's just me, Jim. The same old me." "You don't understand," I murmured, kissing her hands. "You're incredible." Her eyes glistened, and I saw the slightest tremor in her smile. She didn't need my words, she already knew. That Friday night, 10 of us gathered at a packed restaurant, enjoying great food, lively conversation, and the relief that February was finally ending. Linda looked stunning, and I couldn't resist telling her over and over. Her touch and gaze made it clear this night would be unforgettable. After dinner, we checked into our rooms before heading to the club. Neither Linda nor I drink much, so I was thrilled to focus solely on her without worrying about driving. As we walked arm in arm to the club, she teased, "We don't have to stay long, do we?" "At your call," I replied with a grin. The club was buzzing, and our group's women drew plenty of attention, though none more than Linda. "You're the most beautiful woman here," I whispered. "Flattery will get you everywhere," she teased back. We danced together, laughing over hot wings and drinks during breaks. When Dave asked Linda for a dance, she smiled but declined, saying, "Tonight's just for Jim and me." I couldn't have been prouder. As the night wore on, our table grew animated when someone spotted Mark Lavalier, the Sharks' star quarterback, sitting nearby. Conversations shifted to his accomplishments and charm, though Linda and I stayed focused on each other, holding hands under the table. Suddenly, Mark approached our group and asked Linda to dance. She hesitated briefly, but then took his hand, leaving me stunned as she followed him to the dance floor without looking back. My pride from earlier evaporated as I watched her glow in his presence, her dress swirling as they moved. The sight of her in another man's arms, especially someone so admired, tied my stomach in knots. Jane tried to reassure me, saying, "It's just a dance." But the slow songs that followed told a different story. Linda seemed lost in the moment, responding to Mark's every move as if they were perfectly in sync. His whispers made her smile in a way I hadn't seen all evening. After 2 slow songs, I couldn't take it anymore, and stood to intervene. Jane grabbed my arm, urging me to let Linda enjoy herself. Reluctantly, I sat back down, heart heavy. When the songs ended, Linda returned to the table, her radiant smile fading slightly when our eyes met. She knew something was wrong. I leaned in and whispered, "I keep telling you, you're the most beautiful woman here. Maybe it's time for our private dance upstairs." Her hand trembled slightly in mine, fear flickering in her eyes before she quickly looked away. Dee broke the tension, loudly inviting Linda to join her in the restroom. Linda apologized softly and left, her tone tinged with sadness. Minutes stretched into what felt like forever, and when Linda didn't return, I grew restless. Using an empty plate as an excuse, I approached the bar and asked a female bartender for help. "My wife went to the restroom a while ago and hasn't come back. Could you check on her? Her name's Linda, and this is her picture." I showed the bartender a photo of Linda on my phone, but before she could respond, Dee appeared beside me. "She's fine," Dee said quickly, placing a $5 bill on the counter. "You don't need to check." Confused, I asked, "Then why did you go with her if she didn't need help?" Dee sighed heavily. "Jim, she's not in the restroom. She left the club." Her words hit like a gut punch. "What do you mean she left? Where? Why didn't she tell me?" Dee led me to a quiet corner. "Jim, listen. Linda loves you and the kids, but tonight she's with Mark." I stared at her in disbelief. "So on what should have been our night, she runs off with some jock?" My anger flared. "She hasn't left you, Jim," Dee said calmly. "It's just tonight. She'll come home tomorrow and everything will go back to normal." I laughed bitterly. "Normal? She sneaks out without a word and leaves me to cover for her. And you helped. Did she tell you to stall me?" Dee nodded, embarrassed. "She didn't want you to cause a scene." I shook my head, fury boiling over. "Did it cross your mind to remind her she has a husband and family she's throwing away?" "She's not throwing you away. You're a good man. She knows she's lucky to have you, and she'll do whatever it takes to make this up to you," Dee insisted. "And if it's beyond fixing?" I asked. Dee's voice softened. "Jim, it's just one night. Compared to everything you've built together, it's small. Don't make it a bigger deal than it is." I clenched my fists, barely containing my rage. "Would you do the same if Mark picked you?" I asked sharply. Dee hesitated but admitted, "Yes." "Does Dave know?" I pressed. "No," she said quietly. "And he doesn't need to." I glared at her. "Maybe he should." "Jim, please, don't do that," Dee pleaded. "Come back to the table. Let's distract you." "Distract me? I wanted a night with my wife, but thanks to you, her, and Mark, that's gone." I turned and walked back to the table. Conversation stopped as everyone avoided my eyes. "Jim, are you okay?" Dave asked hesitantly. "Depends on your definition of okay," I replied coldly. "You're not going to divorce Linda over this, right?" Dave pressed. "Why not?" I shot back. "We all agreed long ago. One and done." Dee interjected. "But Jim, it's Mark Lavalier." "I don't care who it is," I snapped. "If it's not me, that's the end of it." I turned to Dave. "What if Dee spent the night with Mark? Would you be okay with that?" His blush and Dee's sudden interest in the floor said it all. "Jim, think of your kids," Jane urged. "They need you." "You mean like Linda is thinking of them right now?" I asked bitterly. Dee tried to joke. That's why you hired a nanny." The humor fell flat. "Come on, Jim," Dee pressed. "It's one night. She'll never get this chance again. And I'll never get a wife who doesn't cheat," I replied. Silence fell. Jane finally said, "What if a model picked you tonight? Would you really turn her down?" I stood, staring her down. "Yes, I would, because I had a wife until tonight. I wouldn't hurt her, but now, who knows?" The room went silent. My so-called friends sat there, all on Linda's side. I walked away, disgusted by every one of them. I hoped I'd never see any of them again as a muscular bouncer approached our table. "Is there a problem?" he asked. "Yes, a big one," I said, tossing a $20 bill on the table. "Don't worry, I'm leaving." I gestured surrender, then turned to the group. "That covers my bill. You can cover hers, too." I left the club, anger giving way to deep sadness on the walk to the hotel. Linda was supposed to be with me, but instead I was alone. In the suite, remnants of her plans, chocolates and lingerie, mocked me. The thought of her with Mark crushed me. She'd let him take her without hesitation, as if he had a greater claim to her than I did after years of marriage. I gathered our belongings, threw the lingerie in the trash, and checked out of the hotel. At the desk, the clerk asked, "Was your room okay?" "It was fine," I said flatly. "Just a change of plans." I drove home, emotions swirling, anger, grief, and humiliation. The house felt empty. I checked my phone, hoping for a message from Linda, but there was nothing. Exhausted, I fell asleep in my clothes. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with messages. Opening them, I found photos and videos of Linda and Mark together, sent from her phone. He had accessed it, taunting me. Furious, I forwarded the images to our friends with the subject line, "Happy now?" Fueled by adrenaline, I packed Linda's belongings into trash bags, stuffing them into her car. I pulled it out of the garage, changed the door code, and removed the opener. Then I destroyed everything that reminded me of our marriage. Photos, keepsakes, her wedding dress. The house became a wreckage of broken memories. I even threw my wedding ring into the toilet but stopped short of flushing it, a new idea forming. As dawn broke, the thud of the morning paper brought me back to reality. On the front page, a teaser led me to the sports section. Who is Mark Lavalier's new girlfriend? Photos of Linda clinging to him and kissing him before getting into his car completed my humiliation. I sent the article link to our friends with the subject line, "Screw you all to hell." At 5:30 a.m., I called Linda's mother. "Hi, everything okay?" she asked. "No," I said. "Have you seen the paper?" "Not yet." "Why?" "Check the sports section," I said. Linda was spotted leaving the club with Mark Lavalier. "What?" she gasped. "Where is she now?" "With him. She stayed the night," I said coldly. "She won't be coming back here. If she does, I'll kick her out." Her voice softened. "I'm so sorry, Jim. We raised her better than this. She can stay here if needed. But what about the kids?" "They're with the babysitter for now," I said. "I'll arrange something for the weekend." "Let me know if I can help," she said. "Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it," I replied, though my heart felt heavier than ever. An idea struck me, and I logged into Linda's Facebook account using her credentials, which I knew because we'd never kept secrets before. I posted a link to the article with a caption. Guess what? Made the front page of the sports section, ditched my lame husband, and spent the night with a real stud. Lucky me. Next, I emailed the reporter who wrote the article, attaching a video of Mark Lavalier mocking me and offering to entertain Linda again. I left my contact info and hit send, laughing bitterly. At 8 a.m., I called Mrs. Porter to arrange for my parents to pick up the kids. When she asked if I'd seen the newspaper, I confirmed and explained I didn't want the kids home when Linda returned. She apologized and said I didn't deserve this. I called my mom next. She'd also seen the paper and agreed to take the kids for the weekend. When she asked what I planned to do, I replied, "Unleash hell." Around 9:30, Dee called, apologizing for underestimating the fallout. I snapped back, asking if she'd checked Linda's Facebook or her email. When she hadn't, I told her to look and ended the call. Jane called shortly after, upset about the videos. I dismissed her and hung up. An unfamiliar number called next. It was Audrey Tanis from the Daily Record. She confirmed Linda was the woman in the article and asked about the photos and videos. I agreed to meet her after Linda returned home. Checking Linda's Facebook, I saw mixed reactions to my post, some applauding her, others condemning her. Several called her names, and she'd already lost friends over the scandal. That's when Linda arrived home. I saw her step out of a Jaguar as it pulled away. She walked in, acting as if everything was normal. "Why is my car in the driveway, and what's in it?" she asked, then froze at the sight of the wrecked house. Oh my God, what have you done? I finished what you started last night, I said coldly. I'm sorry, she said, trying to kiss me, but I pulled away. Don't touch me. You're not my wife anymore, not according to the papers or the internet. I showed her the article, and her face went pale. I'm not his girlfriend, she insisted. I don't care what it says. What difference does it make? You ruined us, I replied. She tried to retreat to the bathroom, but recoiled when she saw my wedding ring in the toilet. Is that your ring? She asked. Yeah, I said. Since you trashed our marriage, I made it official. I grabbed her hand and pointed to a stain on her ring. What's this? She stammered, denying knowledge. But I pulled up the video Lavalier sent, showing him smearing something on her rings. Her face turned ghostly. You didn't just humiliate me in public and the media, you desecrated the symbols of our love, I said, my anger boiling over. I ripped the rings off her finger with a napkin as she cried, What are you doing? She screamed as I flushed her rings. You flushed them! How could you? How could you? I shot back. I loved you for over a decade and this is what I get. It was just one night, she pleaded. I played a video of Lavalier taunting me. Is this what you want? Him in our bed while I watch? It was just talk, she stammered. Get out, I said. Your things are in the car and your mother's waiting. I'm filing for divorce Monday. What about the kids? She cried. You didn't think about them when you left with him, I replied. She begged for another chance, but I stayed firm. You're dead to me. Now leave. Crying, she ran out and I collapsed on the couch. After waking up, I showered and called Audrey, the reporter. She agreed to meet at Sherry's, a quiet restaurant. I called my mom to check on the kids. Emma asked, Where's Mom? She's with Grandma, I said. We'll talk soon. At Sherry's, Audrey apologized for the photos. I didn't realize she was married, she said, showing me a video of Linda and Lavalier holding hands and kissing. I'm divorcing her, I said. She knew my stance on fidelity. Audrey nodded. I have the full video. Would you like to see it? Why not? I said. Audrey handed me her tablet and played the video. Linda and Lavalier walked into the parking lot, holding hands like we used to. At his car, he turned her around and kissed her passionately. Watching it, no one would guess she was married. When the video ended, I returned the tablet. I'm really sorry, Audrey said. I sent the photos and story to the paper, but I didn't expect this level of attention. So you want my side of the story? I asked. She nodded. I shared my experience, then handed her my phone with videos Lavalier had sent. Fair warning, it's graphic, I said. She watched, her expression shifting as the videos played. This confirms rumors I've heard. Lavalier's a known player, but no one's proven it. I'm divorcing Linda, I said. She knew my views on fidelity and didn't care. What about your kids? She asked. They're my priority, I replied. And Lavalier? I've thought about legal action, but don't want to risk jail by confronting him directly, I said. Audrey handed me a business card. This is a family law attorney I know. She's good and doesn't like Lavalier. Want me to call her? Sure, thanks. Why are you helping me? I asked. A good story. And I don't like guys like Lavalier, she admitted. Let me tell your side. We'll control the narrative together. What's in it for me? I asked. Protection. Without help, the media will twist your story, and Lavalier's team will make you look bad, she explained. Have you considered suing him? Yes, I said. It's crossed my mind. Let me run a piece tomorrow stating you're considering legal action. It'll help set the tone. I agreed, but insisted on veto power to protect my kids. After we finished, I decided to visit my parents. My kids ran to hug me as I arrived. Where's Mom? Emma asked. She's with Grandma, I said. She has some things to handle. My father, a news buff, turned on the TV during our conversation. A segment aired about Lavalier leaving the club with a new girlfriend. The video showed Linda holding his hand and kissing him. Daddy, why is Mommy kissing that man? Emma asked. Timmy didn't understand but looked upset. The anchor reported that Linda had been identified but her name withheld, pending more updates. Lavalier and his team had no comment, but more information was expected soon. Dad turned off the TV and Mom led the kids to another room. What's your plan, son? Dad asked. I'm divorcing her, I replied. He nodded. I don't blame you, but it might cost you custody and financially. I can't stay with her after this, I said. I told him about the reporter offering help and warned it would become a media circus. Mom returned and offered to keep the kids to shield them from reporters. I agreed and thanked them. Linda will want to see them, Mom said. We can't stop her without legal action. I know, I sighed. Why did she do it? She must have known this would end badly. After checking on the kids, Emma asked tearfully, "Are you getting a divorce?" "I think so," I said gently. "But we all love you very much." I hugged her, cursing Linda and Lavalier in my mind. Mom handed me lasagna to take home, and I left. At home, I checked Linda's Facebook post. It had over 500,000 views, mostly negative comments. She had lost most of her friends. I smiled bitterly and cleaned up the house. The doorbell rang. It was Dee and Dave. I let them in reluctantly. They apologized for the previous night, admitting they knew Linda was married but didn't stop her. Dee mentioned Linda was now crying nonstop at her mom's, possibly nearing a breakdown. "You want sympathy?" I asked, slamming a dictionary on the table. "Look between crap and syphilis. You'll find it there." They were stunned. "This destroyed you, didn't it?" Dave asked. "You don't understand," I said. "I'm barely holding it together for my kids." Dee asked if it was true I flushed the rings and declared Linda dead to me. I confirmed. "She ruined our marriage. I just finished what she started." "And now?" Dave asked. "I'm divorcing her. The scandal has humiliated me in front of the world." I turned to Dee. "You'll be named too. You helped destroy my family." "Why me?" she asked, shocked. "You encouraged her," I said. "Did you tell your husband what you told me?" Dave glared at her. "What did you say?" "She said if Lavalier had picked her, she'd have done the same," I revealed. Dave turned dark. "We'll discuss this at home." Dee scowled at me. "I asked you not to tell him. He deserves to know," I said. Before leaving, Dee asked if I could forgive Linda. "She loves you, doesn't she?" "No," I said coldly. "She betrayed me and you helped." "I can't forgive either of you." Dee looked down, whispering, "I'm sorry." Dave muttered an apology too, and they left. I barely responded as Dee and Dave left, Dee wiping away tears. Locking the door, I ate dinner, then collapsed on the bed and fell asleep. The next morning, I grabbed the newspaper from the porch and opted for cereal and toast instead of cooking. Turning to the sports section, a bold headline caught my eye. "Cheating husband considering lawsuit against Sharks tight end Mark Lavalier." Audrey had written a detailed yet respectful article, keeping my identity anonymous. The piece highlighted the affair and Lavalier's possible breach of his morals clause. Satisfied, I closed the paper. Audrey texted, "Hope you read the paper." I replied, "Great job. Thanks." Her response, "Expect a call soon." Seconds later, Lisa Hawkins, a lawyer recommended by Audrey, called. "I'd like to represent you," she said. "Infidelity and alienation of affection are valid claims in this state. And I think you have a strong case." She asked if I'd seek custody. "Absolutely," I replied. Lisa suggested meeting at her office with evidence of the affair and financial documents. I agreed. "What about fees?" I asked. "I'll handle this pro bono," she said. "I'll explain why later." Before hanging up, she warned, "You'll likely hear from the Sharks' legal team. Don't agree to anything. Refer them to me." After the call, I prepared to visit my kids when someone knocked loudly. Two men in suits, one I recognized as Sharks owner Jack Dunstan, stood at the door. "Can we come in?" Jack asked. I let them in, offering drinks, which they declined. "We're here to discuss your issue with Mark Lavalier." Jack began, clearly uncomfortable. "My issue?" I said, anger rising. "You mean him ruining my family?" Jack signaled his lawyer, Roger, who handed me an envelope and a folder. I opened the envelope and my face flushed with rage. $1,000? I asked, incredulous. "You're offering me $1,000 for what he did?" Jack quickly added, "Plus lifetime season passes and gift store credit. That's valuable." I almost laughed. "And this is in exchange for what?" Roger opened the folder, showing me a document. "We're asking you not to sue the team or Mr. Lavalier," he said. I skimmed it, incredulous. "And Lavalier faces no consequences? What about his morals clause?" Roger shrugged, and Jack chimed in patronizingly. "Boys will be boys. Lavalier's respected in the community. We're asking you to reconsider and not tarnish anyone's reputation." "Lavalier ruined my marriage and my reputation," I snapped. "There are articles and photos everywhere. How will season tickets or merchandise fix my children losing their family?" Jack replied condescendingly. "What do you want us to do?" "Oh, I don't know," I said sarcastically. "Maybe entertain my wife or go live on TV and kick some balls." They stared, stunned. Roger asked if I had a counteroffer. "You'll hear from my lawyer," I said, ending the conversation and showing them out. After they left, I updated Lisa, then went to my parents' house. Emma was still upset about seeing Linda with another man. I took the kids to Chuck E. Cheese's, giving them a break from the drama. Afterward, we packed their things to bring to their grandparents' house. As we carried bags downstairs, the front door burst open, and Lavalier stormed in, furious. "You fool," he shouted. "I just wanted some fun, and you turned it into a federal case." Before I could respond, he punched me, sending stars across my vision. Knowing he wouldn't stop, I grabbed the cast iron skillet from the stove and swung, knocking him out cold. The skillet fell from my hands as I heard a firm voice behind me. "Drop the pan, sir," said a police officer, tool drawn. I raised my hands and he cuffed me. "He broke in," I explained. "I know," the officer replied. "Your neighbor called emergency when they saw him kicking in the door. He released me after confirming there was no tool and assured me I wouldn't be arrested. You were protecting your kids. An ambulance arrived, and paramedics tended to Emma, who was shaken, and Lavalier, still unconscious. My dad showed up as they wheeled Lavalier out." "What happened?" he asked, eyeing the broken door and my bruised face. "We had an uninvited guest," I said grimly. He hugged Emma and asked, "Where's Timmy?" "We found Timmy hiding under the table." I crouched and reassured him. "It's okay now. You can come out." Timmy cautiously crawled out and ran into my arms. Dad asked the officer, "Can we leave?" The officer nodded. "That's fine. I'll need to talk to your son, but you don't have to stay for that." "Thanks," Dad said, gathering the kids and their things. "Come over when you're done." "I will," I said, hugging the kids goodbye. After the group left, I turned to the officer and gave him my statement. He listened carefully, then remarked, "It's lucky your neighbor called in time." "Was that your wife in the Lavalier story?" he added. I nodded. Yes, it was. His expression softened as he handed me a counselor's card. "I'm sorry. Call if you need help." "Thank you," I replied, pocketing the card. A little while later, Fred, my neighbor, came over. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "I am now," I said. "Thanks for calling the cops?" Fred shrugged. "No problem. I saw the guy kick in your door. What did you do?" "Strike him with a frying pan," I admitted. Fred chuckled. "Remind me not to anger you." He helped secure the broken door and offered to assist when I replaced it. After he left, I called Lisa, who was relieved I wasn't in jail, though amused Lavalier was in the hospital. Audrey, having heard the news, warned, "Your name won't stay anonymous." "I know," I said. Later, I called my boss to request time off. "Take the week," she said. "You've had a rough weekend." Heading to my parents' house, I was surprised to see Linda arrive at the same time. We met on the walkway, and she froze at the sight of my bruised face. "Oh my God, are you okay?" she gasped. "A little late to care, don't you think?" I said. "Your lover happened. He came looking for a fight." "What? Are you serious?" she stammered. "Don't worry, I handled it, with your frying pan," I said. "Did you hurt him?" she asked. "He's in the hospital," I replied coldly. "He's also going to jail." "Why are you here, Linda?" I asked. "I came to see the kids. I missed them," she said. "You mean the kids you abandoned 36 hours ago?" I snapped. "Please don't call him that," she whispered. "He ruined our marriage, and you helped him. That makes him an a-hole," I said, storming inside as she followed. The room fell silent. The kids clung to their grandmother. Timmy trembled while Emma glared at Linda. "Why did you kiss that man, Mommy?" she demanded. "What man?" Linda asked, feigning ignorance. "The fat man," Emma said, pointing at the TV. As the news played, Lavalier's face appeared on the screen. The anchor's voice filled the room. "Anchorage Sharks tight end Mark Lavalier faces multiple charges after reportedly breaking into the home of a woman he was seen with Friday night. Police say he attacked her husband, who defended himself with a cast-iron skillet. Lavalier is in the county hospital with serious head injuries. The district attorney has confirmed charges will be filed once his condition stabilizes." The screen switched to a press conference. Roger spoke first. "We regret the incident involving Mark Lavalier. We've reviewed the police report and apologized to the family. We made what we thought was a reasonable offer to the husband, but it was declined." A reporter asked, "How will you address the charges?" "We have no comment. Lavalier has been suspended pending investigation," Roger replied. As the report ended, everyone turned to Linda. Pale and shaken, she whispered, "Unconscious? What other injuries? Jim, what did you do?" "Concern for your lover." "Of course," I said sharply. "I punch him a few times." Linda tried to approach Emma, but the girl recoiled. My mother stepped in. "Haven't you done enough damage to these children?" she demanded. My father's voice was firm. "Linda, leave now. And don't come back," my mother added coldly. Linda sobbed as she looked at us, tears streaming. It was just one night, she cried, walking out the door. After she left, I held my kids as they cried. When they finally calmed down, I kissed them goodnight and headed home. Pulling into the driveway, I reminded myself to enter through the garage, as the front door was still broken. Inside, my phone buzzed. It was LV, a retired attorney and close family friend. "Hey, LV," I answered. "I saw the news," he said. "Are you and the kids okay?" "Not really," I admitted. "Is it true you took out Lavalier with a frying pan?" He chuckled. "Yeah, it's true," he laughed. "Good for you. Are you divorcing Linda?" "Yes," I confirmed. "No chance of working it out?" he asked. "None," I said, explaining the videos Lavalier had sent. "Well, that makes things tricky," LV said. "Have you spoken to a lawyer?" "Yes, I'm meeting Lisa Hawkins tomorrow," I replied. "The Ice Queen? She's tough and expensive. Can you afford her?" "She's taking my case pro bono," I said. "Really? Wonder why," he mused. "You should ask." "I will," I promised. We talked a bit more before he said, "If you need anything, let me know." "Thanks," I replied. After a quick dinner, I prepared the documents Lisa requested, then went to bed and slept deeply. The next morning, as I headed to Lisa's office, my phone rang. It was Linda's mother. "Jim, you need to go to the hospital," she said, panicked. "Linda tried to eliminate herself, an overdose of pills and booze. They pumped her stomach, and she's stable now." "Guess she failed at leaving just like everything else," I replied coldly. "I have an appointment. Maybe I'll stop by after." "She's still your wife and the mother of your children," she pleaded. "Don't you care?" "She didn't care about the kids or me when she left with that guy," I retorted. "I'll check later." At Lisa's office, a receptionist led me to a waiting area. Soon, a petite blonde in a sharp pantsuit appeared. "I'm Lisa Hawkins," she said, shaking my hand. "Let's get started. Did you bring the information?" I handed her the folder and USB drive. She quickly reviewed them. "Here's the plan," she began. "We'll file for divorce on grounds of infidelity. In this state, it can help contest alimony. Assets are usually split 50-50ths, but we'll aim for more. As for custody, we'll argue her self-destruction attempt shows instability. Combined with her lover's violent behavior, we have a strong case. I'll also file for restraining orders against both her and Lavalier." "Even though he's hospitalized?" I asked. "Especially because of that. He might get bail and he's dangerous. By the way, do you own a tool?" "No, that's why I used a frying pan," I said. She laughed. "Remind me not to cross you in the kitchen." Lisa continued. "The kids are safe with your parents, so I'll include them in the restraining order. I've also drafted a lawsuit against Lavalier and the team for alienation of affection. With his attack and the videos, we have a strong case. He's worth $125 million. I think $12.5 million is fair for the damage he's caused. If others come forward, we could make it a class action suit." "You're the expert," I said. "Do what's right." She nodded. "It won't be easy, but we'll make progress. Any questions?" "Why are you taking this pro bono?" I asked. Her expression softened. "You're not the first he's hurt. Years ago, he seduced my fiancée." "Wait, what?" I asked, stunned. "I'm sorry to hear that. Is he bi?" "No," she said, shaking her head. "But apparently my fiancée was." My brow furrowed as confusion settled on my face, a reaction I couldn't hide. She noticed and smiled before explaining further. "We got engaged after the 2015 Supreme Court ruling that legalized same-gender marriage nationwide," she said. "Our story isn't that far from yours. She was infatuated with him from the moment they met, just like your wife fell for her lover. From that point on, everything between us unraveled. I ended the engagement. Honestly, I wanted to get even with him, but the opportunity never arose until now. Most of the men he's betrayed just slink away in humiliation." "I'm sorry you had to go through that," I said. "Are you two still in contact?" She shook her head. "We're civil if we happen to cross paths, but we're not friends," she clarified. "I've moved on, and so has she." After a brief pause, her tone grew serious. "Does my lifestyle make you uncomfortable?" "Not at all," I said, and her smile returned. "Good," she replied. "I'm glad to hear that." "So what about you and Audrey Tanis?" I asked. "Are you seeing each other?" She chuckled and shook her head. "No, we're just good friends," she said. "There's nothing romantic between us, but if the chance to spend time with her came up, I wouldn't mind. Why? Have you been thinking about her? She seems to have taken an interest in you. Audrey doesn't typically let a story get under her skin." "That's nowhere near my focus," I said firmly. "Right now, my kids are my priority." "As they should be," she said, nodding approvingly. They need you more than ever. Let me get started on the paperwork. I can probably have everything ready in a day or two. If your wife's still in the hospital, we might be able to serve her there. I'd prefer to attend her funeral first, I said dryly. She smirked slightly as she stood, signaling the end of the conversation. We can make that happen, she said. I'll be in touch. Stay safe, all right? We shook hands before I left her office and headed to the hospital. Parking the car, I made my way inside to check on Linda. When I entered her room, her mother was deep in conversation with the doctor. Linda lay unconscious, hooked up to machines and a ventilator, looking frail and unrecognizable. Finally, you're here, her mother said as she turned to me with tear-streaked cheeks. They've put her on self-destruction watch. The doctors are running tests because they're worried about brain damage. She's been unresponsive for so long. She nearly died. What happened? I asked. After she came back from seeing you and the kids, she went upstairs, her mother explained. I heard her crying and went to comfort her. She seemed to calm down after a while, so I gave her a drink to help her sleep. But early the next morning, I found an empty bottle of sleeping pills next to her glass. Her face was blue. I thought she was gone. I called emergency, and they managed to save her, but she's still in critical condition. Once she's stable, they'll bring in a psychologist. She might need to stay in the psychiatric ward for a while. How long will she be here? I asked. At least a few days, her mother replied. I already called her workplace to let them know, and they've put her on medical leave. Why do you ask? Are you seriously thinking of serving her divorce papers here? Yes, I said without hesitation. Her mother's face hardened. How could you even consider doing that? She's already at her lowest point. That's not my concern, I said bluntly. Her expression turned icy. Jim Carlyle, have you no heart? I stared at her calmly. I'll do whatever it takes, I said coldly. She knew what she was risking when she destroyed our family, and now she'll face the consequences. I glanced at Linda's face, noticing a single tear trailing down her cheek, then turned and walked out of the room. At home, I distracted myself with repairs to the front door. Browsing online, I realized I'd need a new frame along with the door. After measuring, I placed the order and arranged for locks. My neighbor, Fred, offered to help me install it once it arrived. The next few days blurred together with chores, meals, and spending time with the kids. My parents helped with school drop-offs and daycare, but Emma was particularly shaken, clinging to me whenever possible and avoiding everyone else. Damn Linda, I muttered bitterly to myself. Finally, the day came to serve Linda the divorce papers. Lisa called to confirm the bailiff's arrival and advised me to remain quiet during the process. I met him outside the hospital, where Linda's mother stood dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Please don't do this to her, she pleaded. Not here, not like this. I ignored her, following the bailiff into Linda's room. She was off the ventilator now, lying weakly in bed as tears streamed down her face. Linda Carlyle? The bailiff asked. Yes, she murmured. He handed her a manila envelope. You've been served, he said. This includes divorce papers and a restraining order. You and Mr. Lavalier must stay at least 500 feet away from Mr. Carlyle, his children, his home, and his parents' home. Failure to comply will result in arrest. Do you understand? Linda nodded feebly and turned to me, her voice shaking. Can't we just move on from this? It was only one mistake. One mistake too many, I said sharply. Emma hasn't recovered from what your lover did to her. None of this would have happened if you hadn't done what you did. Sign the papers. I don't want a divorce, she protested. What if I refuse? Then I'll file formal charges for infidelity, I said flatly. Her eyes widened. Infidelity? Yes, I replied. It's technically still a misdemeanor in this state. No one's been prosecuted yet, but I'm not afraid to be the first. Just sign the papers. I'm requesting full guardianship of the kids since you're not in any condition to care for them. Once you're stable, you can visit, if they want to see you. Right now, they don't. Tears welled in her eyes as she hesitated. Can I see them one more time before I sign? Of course, I said. Tears streamed down Linda's face as she read through the documents. After a few minutes, she let out a shaky sigh and asked for a pen. The process server handed one to her, silently watching as she signed each page. Once finished, he signed as a witness, gathered the papers, and spoke briefly. I'll deliver these to Miss Hawkins. Take care, he said before leaving the room. Linda turned to me, her face soaked with tears. Isn't there any way we can just move past this? She asked desperately. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It wasn't intentional. I met her gaze, my voice cold. That's not true, I said. You knew exactly what you were doing. You didn't hesitate to leave with that idiot when he showed up at the club. The second you saw him, it was like I didn't even exist. You can't expect me to forget that or forgive it." Her sobs grew louder. "I'm sorry, Jim," she said through her tears. "Can you ever forgive me?" I shook my head firmly. "Not now," I said. "Maybe someday, years from now, I'll feel differently. But right now, no, I can't. And I'll never forget." "I'm so sorry," she repeated, her voice breaking. Normally, I might have felt some instinct to console her, but standing there, all I felt was indifference. She seemed like a stranger, just another face in a crowd of people I would pass without a second thought. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Me too." Without another word, I turned and walked out, closing that chapter of my life for good. The following months were hard on all of us. The kids and I adjusted to life without Linda, slowly creating new routines. I had to take over everything she used to handle, learning by trial and error. Being both father and mother was no easy task, but I managed, thanks to help from my own mom. Over time, the kids began missing her less. Emma attended counseling, which helped her heal. Linda, however, struggled deeply. She attempted self-destruction twice more, each time saved by her mother's intervention. After the third attempt, she was declared incompetent and sent to a long-term psychiatric facility. I later heard that she existed in a nearly catatonic state, barely eating, sleeping, or engaging with the world. She spent most of her days rocking back and forth in her room, lost in memories of better times. I distanced myself from our old social circle. When Dee was served with a lawsuit, she exploded with rage. I didn't receive any compensation from her, but that wasn't the point. I wanted her to understand the damage her actions had caused, ripping apart 4 lives. Months later, I bumped into Dave, who told me he and Dee were divorcing after he discovered she'd been engaging in the same kind of betrayal that Linda had. "Now I understand what you went through," he admitted. "I can't tell you how sorry I am for everything." The settlement from the divorce wasn't as much as I'd hoped for, but it was enough to secure the kids' college education and leave me with a decent safety net. I also received lifetime season tickets to Sharks games, though I doubted I'd ever use them. Lavalier, the man at the center of it all, eventually lost his spot on the team. Before that, he served an 8 to 15-year prison sentence for a range of charges. Lisa spearheaded a class-action lawsuit involving over 50 men whose marriages had been destroyed by Lavalier's actions. Meanwhile, I pursued my own case for the mental anguish and damages caused by his attack on my family and home. I was awarded $1.5 million. Not as much as we'd initially sought, but it felt like justice. As a gesture of gratitude, I gave Lisa a portion of the settlement, even though she hadn't asked for it. By July, I decided to sell the house. The memories it carried were too painful to bear. I found a secure 3-bedroom apartment nearby and moved in with the kids. With help from a psychologist, I started to rebuild my life. My social life remained quiet. Raising the kids demanded all my time and energy. In December, Linda's doctor called, suggesting I bring the kids to visit her for Christmas. He thought seeing them might help her emerge from her depression. At first I was reluctant, but after talking it over with her mother and asking the kids, I was surprised when they agreed. On Christmas Eve, we drove to the facility, a quiet and well-maintained institution at the edge of town. The kids were nervous and hesitant to approach her at first, and I couldn't blame them. Linda looked utterly broken, her eyes vacant and distant. Eventually, they moved closer. As they did, she seemed to awaken slightly, offering me a faint smile. "Thank you for bringing them," she whispered. I nodded but stayed silent. The anger I once felt toward her had long since faded, leaving only a deep sadness. From a distance, I watched as Linda spoke and laughed softly with the children. It was like catching a fleeting glimpse of the person she once was. After about an hour, the doctor leaned toward me. "Do you want to take the kids now?" he asked. I shook my head. "No," I said. "Let her have this moment. It's Christmas." The doctor nodded in understanding. He turned to me again. "I know her story," he said, "but I don't know yours. Would you share it? It might help me understand her better." I told him everything, the events and emotions that followed. When I finished, he studied me thoughtfully. "Have you ever considered reconciliation?" he asked. I shook my head firmly. "No, that's not going to happen." "She made a mistake," he said gently. "Don't you think you could move forward?" I laughed bitterly. "A mistake? Forgetting to pay a bill is a mistake. What she did was deliberate. She worked with her so-called friends to plan it. She needs to face the consequences. Why not help her move on?" he suggested. I replied sharply, "Tell her to hold on to that love in one hand and pile it up with disappointment in the other. See which one fills up faster." "You sound like you're holding on to a lot of resentment," he observed. I raised an eyebrow. "How would you feel if your wife walked out on you without even a goodbye? Wouldn't you be angry?" He nodded. "I can see your point." "How long do you think she'll be here?" I asked after a pause. "It's hard to say," he replied. "She's under state care now and needs to prove she can live independently and isn't a danger to herself or others. That could take years." I nodded, accepting the reality. We watched as Linda interacted with the kids, her energy visibly fading. The doctor stepped closer. "She's been getting tired faster lately," he noted before addressing Linda. "It's time for your medication and the children need to leave now." Linda knelt to hug the kids, kissing them softly on their cheeks. She straightened, looking at me with sadness in her eyes. "Thank you for bringing them," she said. "I'd love to see them more often. I'm really getting better, you know." "You're welcome," I replied. "And yes, Linda, I can see you're improving." Her voice wavered as she asked, "Are you seeing anyone?" I paused. "I've been on a few dates, but nothing serious," I admitted. "I miss you, Jim," she said quietly. "I still love you." I looked at her evenly. "I miss the woman I married," I said softly. "Focus on getting well." "Merry Christmas, Linda." Her lips curved faintly into a smile. "Merry Christmas," she whispered. "Thank you again." "Of course," I replied as the kids came to my side. "Daddy, can we come back next week?" Emma asked, her wide eyes pleading. "Please, Daddy," Timmy chimed in. I smiled. "We'll figure something out. Let's head home for now." And so a new routine began. Twice a month, the kids visited Linda. Most of the time, her mother took them, but occasionally I brought them myself. On those visits, Linda and I exchanged polite, brief words. We never spoke of that guy. She understood there was no chance of reconciliation. Still, she seemed to treasure even the smallest moments we shared in the same room. A year after Linda left, the first U.S. COVID-19 end of life was reported. February 29th, 2020, a leap year. By March, lockdowns and restrictions had taken over. If February was bad, March was worse. 2 years after she walked out, life isn't perfect, but it's better. In June 2020, Lavalier's team finally settled the class action lawsuit. They were left with nothing, no money, no reputation. Even his health didn't escape unscathed. Medical issues left him impotent. When Linda heard the news, even she managed a small smile. Maybe February won't be so bad next time, or at least not as awful as the last two.